Well, that's a long time period, 25 years, but I would say the moment when it was decided that we are one of the winners in the so-called leading edge cluster competition in German, Spitzencluster-Wettbewerb, this was a fantastic moment because it provided us with 40 million funding through the Federal Ministry of Research and Education. And I think that was a great moment, and the party, which we had 2 days later, was even better. We made a very nice party, and there, let's say, all different members of our cluster got together. And it was great to see that the medical director of our huge university hospital talked to the managing director of a garage company, and they were somehow on the same level. In those moments I realized now we got all the important players together. We got the biotech companies, we got the clinicians, and in this way we also got the pharma industry together. So this was, let's say, the best moment of our cluster that I do remember, and fortunately this has kept until now. I cannot remember my first day at BioM because it was kind of sliding into BioM. What I do remember, what was really the start of BioM, was another victory, because we had applied in the so-called BioRegio contest in the year 1996, and it was the 26th of November where I had to go to Bonn, and there was waiting with 16 other regions in Germany if we get a medal, the appreciation that we are a model region for biotechnology. Fortunately, our effort started with Arbeitskreis Biotechnologie München, and so we were called at the first time, and we were one of the 3 winners, and that was actually the start of BioM. Although at this day I did not know that I would become the managing director of BioM. I was far away from that, I must admit. And then I was sliding in slowly until April 1st, 1998, I became the managing director or CEO of BioM, and many people thought it was just a 1st of April joke because I had been a university professor, a civil servant before, and nobody would ever leave this job because it would keep you safe for the rest of your life. But I did. Yeah, it was a continuous development. Well, there were also some negative highlights when we hit, for example, the first financial crisis in 2001. In the late 90s, everything went perfect. And then we came back into reality, and there the first big difficulties occurred. And it was not a positive highlight, but it was a very important moment that we hit reality and that we learned how difficult it is to create a cluster like the one that we were planning to do so. Well, there will be big challenges in the future, let's say for the next 25 years that will come after my retirement. I compared, let's say, the past 25 years with a jungle river cruise, which has now perhaps come to its end, but it has not come to its end. I think we just will make a short stop, and there will be a new captain coming on board, and there will be new challenges in this jungle river cruise. And the biggest challenges are growth of the companies, for which we need good management, for which we need space, and for which we need especially capital. And I think in this context it will be very important that we even improve and increase our collaborations with Bayern Capital and invest in Bavaria, because BioM itself cannot do it, so we need to collaborate perhaps even better in the future, and I'm sure that my successor will do a great job in getting this problem solved. The major advantage when you come to Bavaria is that you really find an open innovation culture here. which means that at least we try that every company that wants to join us really feels welcome. And we, together with Invest in Bavaria, do everything that this feeling is not there only in the first moment, but that it's kept on even for several years. I think that's extremely important, that the companies, after having learned us, don't turn their back to us and go to another place. No, they want to stay here. One major advantage that they also meet here is, let's say, the strong science that we have in Bavaria. Not only at the both Munich universities and the university hospitals, but also in other parts in Bavaria, like in Regensburg, Erlangen and Würzburg. There is strong science, and these scientists are open for collaborations, not only with their German biotech counterparts, but also with the international ones. And we help them, for example, also through the Bayerische Forschungsstiftung to get access to funding. We also help them to get access to funding from the Federal Ministry of Research and Education, and also through the Federal Ministry of Economic Affairs. So we support them, and they feel home. They even get better funding than they get in their home countries, and that's why they stay here. But this is only the first step. Then they develop by themselves. BioM is an organization, a cluster management organization, which is very free in its decisions. So we are not based on membership fees, so the members of the cluster cannot really tell us what we have to do. In this way, we are able to attract many international companies. And that you can see when you come to the Bavarian Biotech Cluster, especially to the Munich Biotech Cluster, that you find many international companies. In the beginning, some of our local companies are a little bit afraid, and they do not like that we bring in international competitors. But after some time, they have learned that competition is really good, and it makes them better. So at the end of the day, they really support us, and I think that's very important. In this way, we have become, let's say, a real international cluster with many international companies, and this is something which is unique for Germany, I would say. I remember one incident in Japan where we were not accustomed to the rules in Japan, the social rules in Japan. And I remember a dinner where we were sitting on the floor, difficult anyhow. And then I was very thirsty after a long day, and I had my first glass of beer, and I wanted to have more. And then I poured the beer in by myself, but then I was hindered from my neighbor, a Japanese neighbor, who told me, "You are not supposed to do that because I will pour your beer." So I think it's very important that when you go to another country, that you learn about their cultural context, and that you learn how to behave. And I think that has really happened then in the future. Since then, we offer, together with with Bayern International and also with Invest in Bavaria, these cultural trainings, which makes things much easier, so you do really behave in the right way. That's very important. Yeah, after considering the plenty of products that have reached the world, especially products from companies who produce devices, who are very successful, from companies which produce reagents, I would highlight one very specific product that was developed by our local biotech company, Micromet. And the product is named Blincyto. It's a so-called bispecific T-cell engager, which is a very small antibody, which has been developed by this company and which has now reached the world market, which has come to the patient and has become a real blockbuster, which means it's sold in a range of $1 billion and more. This company, Micromet, did not market and sell by itself, but Micromet was acquired some 10 years ago by Amgen, and Amgen made this product available to the world, which might have been a little bit more difficult if, let's say, the company Micromet would have done it from Germany. So this is a fantastic product, and it helps many people to treat leukemic cancers. Actually, at the moment, the company Amgen is trying to get approval also to treat children with this product. Well, maybe this product, Blincyto, is a kind of hidden champion because probably not too many people know anymore that it is, has been developed in Bavaria. But there's another product I would like to mention, which is marketed and sold by Johnson & Johnson, a product developed by our local company MorphoSys. Somehow the current flagship of the region. And the product is named Tremfya, and it's used to treat moderate to severe plaque psoriasis, which is a disease of the skin. And this has become a very product in the pipeline or in the product consortium of Johnson & Johnson. And that has been developed by MorphoSys, but probably nobody knows anymore that it has been developed here in the Bavarian biotech cluster. Yeah, well, Bayern International accompanied us on many of these trade fairs. I think it's quite easy to be there on a US trade fair, like the Bio Convention, the International Bio Convention, which is taking place every year in a different city in the United States. But what was more important, and where the support of Bayern International was very important, are the trade fairs in Japan, and here especially Bio Japan. And I think what Bayern International did there with the colleagues there is just fantastic, because the Bavarian reception was the highlight of the whole trade fair, because your colleagues then prepared Bavarian sausage with Bavarian sauerkraut, and not Bavarian beer, but beer brewed by Bavarian brewers in Japan. And I still remember there was a huge queue waiting of 100 people and more, just waiting to get a little piece of these sausages and a sip of that beer. And this really helped us to make Bavarian biotechnology public. It's old biotechnology, but in this way, people met us and they learned about modern biotechnology. Well, I do not know this film yet. I'm very curious to see it, and also for the first time. But I strongly hope that it will show that the Bavarian biotech scenery is a very international one, that we are open to all nations, with people with all colors, and that we are especially open to young people who want to join us. So I strongly hope that this film will really display our openness to everybody in the world, and especially also to the young people, which we would really like to welcome in our state of Bavaria.